Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. So I'm reading today for Capricorn energy. It's a story time reading though, it's not a personal reading. So with the story time readings, I find that they're a little bit more out there. They're a little bit more talking about things that may be going on in the collective consciousness, things that may be running through people's minds. So sometimes like TV shows and stuff can come through in these readings without me realizing. And it's only when I actually watch the show myself that I'm like, oh, that's what I was channeling, because it's like if everybody's watching the same show at the same time, for example, Prey, it's going to come out in the readings, right? Because everybody's thinking about those topics and thinking about those issues. So I don't know 100% what we're going to get fully. Things start to come through when I go through the cards, but generally your reading is a lot more grounded and a lot more practical than a lot of it. It's very dreamy. It's got this kind of Piscean dreamlike quality to it, but it's more it's like less wacky than a lot of the other readings, which is funny because you definitely have a wacky side, Capricorns. It's like you've got this like mix of like being really really down to earth and then just wacky Cappy. So I don't know, but you seem down to earth Cappy today. I've got a lot of intuitive messages for you. My downloads have been going crazy. Like basically my guides have not shut up like all night. Like I was getting dreams, I woke up at like 5 with some random messages. Like they just haven't stopped. So literally I pulled your cards this morning while I was still half asleep. I was like shuffling the cards and I hadn't even like, you know when you're like trying to pry your eyes open, especially because it's been really like muggy, it's like your eyes get really kind of puffy and it's like so like I was in this half dream state, kind of pulling your cards in the first place. And what I do want to say before we kind of carry on with the intuitive messages is in your last reading you had this thing about I was trying to get some guidance from a certain deck and nothing was coming out, and I was like, I feel like my guides are mad at you because you've been ignoring their advice, and it had this feeling like there was something that you were refusing to look at. There was something, either a part of yourself that you were ignoring or neglecting, or some kind of karmic cycle that you were in, and you were really just not prepared to kind of take off the blindfold and look at this thing. And I feel like you've looked at it now, and I feel like I'm going to say you're a man with a plan. I don't know your gender, but that's kind of how I heard it. So, well, let's jump in. It's funny, I was just listening to that. There's beauty in the breakdown song. Jump in, jump in. When I actually, it was funny because the deck that had so much resistance last time, it felt really karmic, was the first deck that I reached for today, and I was sat there holding it with my eyes closed, sort of still half asleep, and it just felt like this fire burning a hole right through it. It was the way it felt. It was like really dealing with whatever you were resisting in that last reading. Right, Cappies. So as soon as I finished why did I say it like that? As soon as I finished Sagittarius's reading, messages, it's like you started talking. It's so funny, it's like the energy shifted. Because Sagittarius were feeling very rebellious in that reading. Libra and Sagittarius both have been feeling quite rebellious, and really confronting kind of archaic or patriarchal or outdated structures, so things like the police, the military, politics, and as I shifted out of their reading and began to shift into your energy, so as I was uploading the reading, it was like immediate. I started to get you arguing with me. It's like, yes, but these things have a purpose. Like they are, for example, is it the military that's like, or the police that's like to protect and serve? It's like you're like, your energy, Capricorn energy, came in with this argument of like, but you can't just throw these structures out the window, we have laws to protect us. You came in with this like voice of reason, but you seem to be asking though, you seem to be asking questions about these structures in a way where it's like, okay, but they have a duty of care. Did they understand the assignment, right? So you're coming at this in a way that's like holding people to authority, right? Or holding people to account is the way you're coming through with it. So you're not so much throwing the whole book out the window, but you're like, are the people are they carrying out the job correctly, is the way that you're coming through with it. So you're also asking questions, but I think you have a little bit more faith in some of the structures than perhaps some of the other signs. The assignment as well, that phrase, like, did they understand the assignment? So something could be coming through about work, or maybe if you're at college or something, you know, are you fully understanding the assignment? Are you you know, I feel like you're holding people accountable. So you're like, are these people understanding what I've asked of them? Let's review something, is the way it's coming through there. Okay, so drawing a line under that. A little bit later on, this deck of cards was kind of on my, I'm kind of have to do it where I can still pull that card. So this deck of cards was just sat on my desk in front of my computer, and I was doing something completely else. And without even kind of consciously thinking about it, I kind of sat really upright and went like this. And it was, she shouldn't be in reverse, but I went like this, and it was the High Priestess. And I was like, how funny. And I just had this feeling of being like, you know, like this High Priestess in a movie pulling cards, and I was trying to pull the movie in. And the first thing that came to me was Maverick. If you've seen the film Maverick, where he's got a deck of playing cards, and he kind of like splits it in half and looks at what's there. And Jodie Foster's character is always like the Queen of Cups, right? Who's like the Queen of Love, the Queen of Hearts. So, and I kind of thought, I kind of did the same thing, and I almost knew before I did it, right? So I went like this. I was like, well, this is clearly me, right? The High Priestess, or not necessarily me. I don't know who it is in your reading, right? But, and then I was like, and who's the other person, right? And I went like this, and I was like, I knew it was the King of Wands. I knew it was the King of Wands, right? I was already expecting it to be the King of Wands. You know, like how Maverick was expecting it to be the Queen of Hearts. I was like, it's going to be the King of Wands, right? It was. It's like, how mad's that? So my decks are upside down. I need to kind of turn them around. So, and I was like, what am I getting here? I knew that they were giving me a movie, and it wasn't Maverick. So I spent a minute thinking about it. And it was Live and Let Die by James Bond. There's a tarot card reader in that movie. And so I don't know if there's something in that for you. Maybe you want to go and rewatch those scenes. There could be something in that for you. But I was getting, because you were getting Elvis last week, I watched this, I think it was like a little less conversation, a little more action, or something like that, where he's kind of like seducing this woman. And I thought, like, James Bond as well, what's his name? Is it not Sean Connery? Is it Sean Connery? It's Sean Connery, isn't it? Is it Sean Connery? I don't know. I get my James Bonds mixed up. But James Bond like has that very suave seduction style, right? So I don't know if there's somebody around you like that. I don't know if you're a little bit like that, but you're coming through with this kind of like suave seduction energy. And of course, he kind of tricks her in that reading, because in that scene, because all the cards are the Lover's card, right? So I don't know if there's something in that as well for you to pay attention to. Coincidentally, I believe the actress that played her is Jane Seymour, and I was talking about Jane Seymour, Henry VIII's wife, so different Jane Seymour, but the same name in Libra's reading. Which I didn't know that was Jane Seymour, but as I was watching the clips to kind of refresh my memory, the description told me, and I was like, that's a weird coincidence. So you've got a couple of songs, Cafe Deluxe, Talking to a Coffee Cup, and Confide in Me, Kylie. So I don't know if there's somebody who is like a High Priestess, maybe it's a Scorpio, and this is somebody that you can confide in. Because in Cafe Deluxe he says, talking to a coffee cup because you're the only one who lets me open up. So it could be actually, for some of you, it could be like coming to my readings is just giving you this feeling of being understood, which is kind of like a huge honor to me. It's kind of a lot of responsibility and a huge honor to me, but you know, I definitely have that feeling. So, you know, coffee with Cappy, I've even got my coffee cup here as well. So yeah, like if you're feeling that way, like, I don't know, you can be yourself around my readings, then that's a big compliment, so thank you if that's the way that you're feeling. But again, this could also be somebody in your real life who's like, maybe you do go and have a coffee with them, and this is the only person you can feel like you can be your authentic self with, right? This is the only person you can really speak your truth to. and then confide in me as well. So I do feel like perhaps you are looking for people to confide in, or you could also be seeing this here and seeing like shoulder to cry on. So you could also be this for other people, where you know you're the good listener, you're the person that people can confide in, right? So do take that as it resonates. There was a line from that because I continued kind of watching clips from James Bond. If you do not ask specific questions, I cannot be responsible for your misinterpretation of the answers, is what the the tarot card reader says to him. Not to Mr. James Bond, but this other guy. If you do not ask specific questions, I cannot be responsible for your misinterpretation of the answers. So when I'm reading the cards, I'm literally just reading the cards. If you have questions, then hopefully my guides are going to kind of answer some of those questions in the reading. But I don't know what I'm reading, right? I literally do not know your personal situation. So I may read the cards one way, but it's up to you to understand and interpret that and see if it applies to your actual situation or not, because the general readings, they're not personal readings, so some things will fit and some things won't. So just be wary of misinterpretation. Are you trying to seduce me, Mr. Bond? Now, I swear that is a line from a James Bond movie. It even came up on a search engine. Are you trying to seduce me, Mr. Bond? So I don't know, maybe somebody's trying to seduce you and you're like calling them out on it. But it's very similar to the line from The Graduate, right? Where, you know, Mrs. Robinson, isn't it? But I swear it's in a James Bond movie and I can't find it. It's like, I don't know if it's one of those like Mandela effects. It's like, you know, when you remember something and then the reality is different to how you remember it. There could be something like that going on for you. You've got, again, a series of downloads. These are the ones that came through at 5 o'clock in the morning for me. Come Out and Play by Billie Eilish. Maybe somebody's saying to you, come out and play. Jamestown. So I literally saw a clip from... I'm sorry if you can hear I'm a little bit sniffly today. I don't know if it's hay fever or if I've got a cold coming on. So Jamestown. So it's a TV show about Jamestown, I guess, which in like the 1600s, you know, some like pioneers or pilgrims or something came from like England way and went out and kind of established this colony in America. So could be some symbolism there for you. But I was really pulled to James, right? Jamestown. So you've got James twice, you've got James Bond and Jamestown. So somebody could be called James. Hi, if that's you. Then I heard You're Here Now. So I don't know if you've reached somewhere. I don't know if you've got this energy just because of your reading of like wanting to go somewhere, like wanting to establish like a new town or something. That's a very strange but exciting thing if that's what you're doing. And then I'm Only Dreaming by Suggs. Leave me where I am. You're here now, leave me where I am. I'm only dreaming. So you do have a dreamlike quality to your reading. Again, a lot of Piscean energy coming in for you. I don't know if that's in your chart or not. But it's got this energy of like I'm where I want to be when I'm dreaming. So leave me where I am. It's like, don't wake me up because I'm where I want to be right now. So it could also be meditating, right? You're meditating and you go on this gorgeous adventure, or like you're dreaming and you're dreaming of this really lovely place where you want to be. And it's like, don't wake me up, you know, like don't wake me up, I'm dreaming kind of thing. I don't know. Handmade Heaven by Marina and the Diamonds. Birds of a Feather Fly Together. So again, this idea of a handmade heaven. So you do seem to be doing something where you're making dreams a reality. You're not just dreaming. You're like, why does this have to be a dream? Why can't this be like heaven on earth, you know? Now I'm getting... Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? We'll make heaven a place on earth. So you're not only dreaming because you're a practical sign. You're recognizing that your dreams are inspiration, that you can, you know, that your dreams or your daydreams or, you know, visualizations, they are seeds of the future, right? You can actually make these things happen. So it's going to take some planning, right? It's actually coming through with I Need a Miracle. Which is Arcadia by Lana Del Rey. And Arcadia by Lana Del Rey was the song that was playing in my head, kind of while I was half asleep pulling your cards, like over and over and over. My body is a map of LA. I stand straight like an angel with a halo. Yeah, I Need a Miracle. So Birds of a Feather Fly Together from Handmade Heaven. I feel like there's some disharmony, probably in your actual waking reality, where you're not aligned with certain people around you, and you want your birds of a feather, right? You want the people who are like you, who have the same vision, who dream the same dream. So birds of a feather fly together. When I was kind of waking up this morning, I could hear some seagulls and a crow. So in my local area, we have like pigeons and we have crows and like sparrows and things like this, and they all kind of live in harmony. It's like a working ecosystem, and it's like their territory, right? Which kind of ties into Leo's reading, this idea of like the emperor's territory. So the crows protect this area. They're kind of like watchful guardians, I would say. And so sometimes magpies come into the area, or in this case seagulls, and they are a danger to the very balanced harmony of the birds in the area. So the seagulls kind of represent like party birds, right? They're going down to the beach, they're stealing people's chips, the mischief makers, they're a bit rebellious, they do what they want, they're kind of like teenage yobs, right? So these kind of like, or like young men, this group of kind of reckless party seagulls came into the area, and the crows started to ward them off. I could hear the crows saying, "Get out of here, this is our territory. We own this place." So I don't know if there's something like that happening for you as well. But yeah, it's like sticking together with the birds of a feather, right? The crows are sticking together. So I also saw a miniature train set. This is it now for your intuitive messages. We're going to get into the cards in a second. I'm still kind of a bit waffly. I'm still waking up. A miniature train set. I don't know if somebody has a miniature train set, but with this idea of like heaven on earth, or creating an Arcadia. It could be, if you think about like a model village or a miniature train set, right? It's like creating, or even like Lego, like a little Lego town, which is very idealized. I don't know if you have something like this that you do that's like an idealized version of reality, but it's like, why not make that on a bigger scale? Why not make that actually your community that you live in? There's something like that going on for you. Okay, I'm just going to pause and drink some of my coffee and kind of try and blow my nose or something, and then I'll be back with you in a sec. Okay, cats, are you ready? So what I really love about this reading is I've got this card, and I don't remember ever seeing it before. I don't know if it's ever come out in a reading before, but it doesn't look familiar to me. The Fertile Void. So I'm used to this card, which has also come out for you, the Void, and it's a very familiar card, and it used to come out in your readings a lot. It was this feeling of either dark night of the soul, or depression, or numbing. So some of you could have been numbing because you didn't want to look at that thing that I feel like you've looked at now. So the Void, it's emptiness, it's nothingness, it's acceptance as well. And it's like a blank slate. The way it's coming through today, it's like a blank slate. So okay, so that space is empty. What could it be? And it's so beautiful because it's like it's come out in reverse for a start. So it's like you are out of the void, right? You're no longer in this. It could be like a hopelessness, despair, like nihilistic, like what's the point of anything kind of phase, which I'm so excited about and so happy for, because you really seem to be coming out of that plutonic phase. If you know, Pluto's been going through your chart and it's a heavy energy, and you're into this blank slate energy. So yes, there's nothing there. What if we start to plant some seeds? So I love it. And it's the first card that came out like for your reading. So the Fertile Void, inner winter, rest, patience, potency, secret beginnings. So I don't know if it looks like nothing's happening with you. There absolutely is something happening. And I feel like it's been driven by your dream space. And again, it could be like if you meditate. Sometimes I meditate with black hole energy, which is very interesting, the stuff that comes out of black hole meditations. So you can go and find TM Soft have a number of like meditation sounds that are based on NASA imagery. So what they do is like they take imagery of waves coming from space, so waves coming out of black holes or waves coming from planets, and they turn it into music notes. So you get these like really beautiful, like haunting space sounds. And I've just seen a flock of 5, I think it was, crows go over the top of the house. And crows, of course, are messengers from the other side. Yeah, there's 5. They're going around in circles. I feel like they're protecting my house. Again, as these kind of guardians. Crows also came out in Libra's reading. I'm a Libra, so there could be something significant in that. Yeah, but it's like, and it's even like, sometimes I like to meditate in pitch black, right? Pitch black darkness. So I'll get in the bath, like an ISO tank, right? I'll get in the bath and turn the lights off and play these kind of like space sounds and see what comes to me, and like see what comes in out of the darkness. So you could have also been doing something like this. Or if you're not into that kind of thing, it's just the stuff that's coming on through your dreams, through your daydreams. You know, when you let your mind wander, when you kind of sit there and, you know, drift off, like you start to get into this creation energy. And what's also really exciting to me is like the seeds. I made your notes on a picture that I took yesterday. So I'm actually recording this on Monday. I took the picture on Sunday of my son's got an obsession with acorns at the moment, and all the oak trees, like the acorns are kind of getting. I'm going to show you the picture. Hold on, where's my phone? Yeah, so my son's obsessed with acorns, and we were going around, and all the oak trees in the area are now like, the acorns are getting really, really big and healthy looking. So he was excited. He was kind of like picking all the acorns. So yeah, and I was posting pictures yesterday as well of like, I feel like I was already tapping into your energy without realizing it. I was posting pictures of like my avocado seeds and things that are starting to sprout, and yeah, so it's like, if you've got ideas, I feel like, you know, especially ideas for like new beginnings or how to make heaven on earth in some sort of way, like, you know, it's like the foundation of this is really, really stable because it's fertile, right? The fertile void. So this is talking to me about, because you also have this tree here. So trees to me represent us, right? Our soul, where we came from, our past and our future. So the stronger your root system, the stronger you, even whether you come from, I'm not saying like you have to come from like good stock or anything like that. It's not like you have to have like a posh family or anything like that, or even a healthy family. You could come from really toxic beginnings, but it's the more firmly you plant yourself, the more you investigate your past, the more you go back over things and kind of like really deal with any kind of shadow work that you need to do there. You know, you get stronger, and this makes you a more stable, grounded person in real life. So I feel like you've been doing a lot of shadow work in terms of your past, your ancestry, your roots, your heritage, and what you've done through doing that is like you've prepared the ground. So if there was any, it's funny as well, I was thinking everything I get through seems to apply to the readings. So I was thinking about an area where the council was supposed to be, they were knocking down a community building, and they were supposed to be rebuilding it, but kind of bigger and better across the road. And the original site that they kind of knocked down this community centre on, they were supposed to be, they actually did build houses there, which is good because, you know, we need more houses in the area. However, they didn't rebuild the community centre, which I thought was a crappy thing to do, because, oh, they found out that the land that they were building it on had some toxins in it, and like it wasn't suitable for building. And I was like, don't you think you should have checked that before you knocked it down, council? So it's funny you've got the council here as well with this, like the council. I was thinking about this last night, and there's is he called Stubbs? I feel like he's called Stubbs. Is he called Phil Stubbs? I don't know if that's his name or not. I'm bad with names. But there's this guy, he's like an expert on mushrooms. If you do TED Talk, Paul Stamets, he's called Paul Stamets. I don't know who the other person was. Paul Stamets, he's this mushroom guy. He does TED Talks and things. And he's just really, really into mushrooms and fungus. And he's kind of he's not just like taking them and kind of going, woo. He's actually a researcher. He's got like a PhD in he's like a mushroom expert, and mushrooms are brilliant. They can like different ones, different types. It's like they can, you know, they have a really good record of like curing cancer cells and things like this, and all this kind of really positive stuff. And there's a particular type of mycelium, which is kind of like the root system of mushrooms, right? The fungus that lives in the soil, and you can put it on toxic earth, so where there's like oil spills or I don't know, nuclear rubbish and things like this, and you can put this mycelium down and it will spread, and it actually absorbs the toxins out of the earth and makes the land viable again, which I think is incredible. And so I was thinking to myself, I should just order some of these. He sells them. I believe that you can buy them in like they kind of like burlap sacks of like mud that's infused with this mycelium. And I was thinking I should just buy like 4 of them and go and stick them in this field, you know. So to like eventually it's gonna like you just leave it there, right? You just leave it there, and eventually it's gonna take all the crap out of the soil. And I was thinking about I don't know if this is something that you're doing. You know, this is like a side effect of tapping into your energy. And I was thinking about like my son picking up all these. I've even got some of the old ones that he picked up off the school field that were in his pocket. I found him like washing them. And I was like, I could get them, right? I could get them and I could plant them and I could grow them myself, like how I've been growing my avocado plants and my avocado seeds. And I was like, how cool would that be to grow an oak tree? Like, you know, instead of like strawberry plants and tomato plants, like imagine growing an actual oak tree. Like I love oak trees, I think they're really, really cool. So, and then I had this idea of like, well, what if I planted like 6 of these things, like I've got my 6 avocados, and like I was like, what if they started to actually grow into trees? I couldn't just have like 6 oak trees growing in my house, so what would I do with them? I'd have to go and plant them somewhere. And this is kind of like where I got to like, I'd have to go and plant them in that field, right? I just have to sneak into the field that's not in use and kind of stick these oak trees down. At least it's like adding more trees to a bad situation. I don't know, this is kind of like where my head was going. So I don't know if it's like something to do with your energy that's kind of bringing that out of me. It's so funny, but look at it, even like kind of looks a bit like oak tree leaves. So okay, so very, very fertile ground. You've been laying the groundwork, right? You've been preparing the soil. Just went off on one, I'm sorry, of whatever this situation is. So it's like whatever you're doing, it's coming from, it's like the base of it is really, really fertile. So I'm excited for it. And then look at these cards. So like, look at the contrast here. So it's like, it's kind of like ex nihilo, right? Out of nothing. Out of nothing. Literally, you've got like this like Garden of Eden, heaven on earth, Arcadia energy. It's like, just look at the contrast. And I feel like whatever you're doing, Capricorn, I don't know what you're doing, but you're laying, it's like you've got the idea, or you're planting the seeds of, it's like you've got the vision. You've got the vision and you've got the right environment to create this. How stunning. And you can do this, it's like terraforming. Were you getting terraforming last time? I remember banging on about this last week in the last set of readings. Like you can literally terraform environments. So even like you know, if you deforestation of an area will create deserts, right? But you can replant trees in a desert and it will turn back into a rainforest eventually. And nature's amazing. Nature does all the work for us. I can't remember which way around that was. I think it was that way around. Yeah, nature will do most of the work for us. So, you know, it's literally nature's doing what nature does. Stupid is as stupid does. Sorry, I kind of got a bit of Forrest Gump there. Where, you know, yeah, just my strawberry plant itself, it made like what, 9 strawberries, and each of those strawberries had, it's like doing the maths. Capricorn, I feel like it's you doing the maths, right? It's like I could go out and buy a strawberry plant, which is going to cost me this much money, but then I could get 1 strawberry plant and it's going to give me 9 strawberries, which is going to give me 100 seeds each, and that's going to be 900 strawberry plants. Do you see what I mean? It's like, hang on, there's an opportunity here. This is I don't know. It's like just let nature do it. Like let nature take over is kind of how it's coming through. Of course, you could also be having a baby. You could be having a baby. Talking about being fertile, planting seeds. You've got woodwives here. Maybe these kind of kids and eggs. So you've got a lot of stuff about birth and germination. So if you're trying to have babies, I guess that's a good sign, right? I don't know. Right. Okay. So. The fertile void, what are you being called to journey to? Imrama and light the sun. So it really feels like there's a light in the darkness for you, the seed of the idea. Like, it's like you're seeing the light in a way, or like again, it's got this feeling of like creating heaven on earth. What was that song? So it's in my notes, but I didn't say it, because I wasn't sure at the time how it fit in. Bit of a creepy song. So Scorpio rising, death in Vegas. I want to go to heaven, never been there before. But it's like you're pulling it down is the way it's coming through. It's like, if I can't go to heaven, I'm going to bring heaven to me. It's very cool. It always looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi to me as well. I don't know why. It just gives me Obi-Wan Kenobi vibes. And it's like you want... It's got this thing about shared vision, right? So they're on their own there, but then there's two people there, and then it's like two people here. Do you see what I mean? Like shared vision. It's like somebody else who also sees this potential, somebody else who shares the same dream, is the way it's coming through. Especially with the council. So the council's been coming through with an energy of this high priestess. Again, you had that high priestess at the beginning of the reading, who is receiving messages from some kind of, it's been coming through like an alien, right? Like an alien who's here to help us and share their technology and advancement with us. But it doesn't have to be that. Again, it could just be a movie somebody's watching. But it's like the council is, I'm hearing the Council of Lights. Council of Lights. So the Council of Light is tapping into some higher consciousness, where I want to say the seeds of ideas are coming from, kind of like muse energy. So there's something about growing towards the light, because that's what's needed, because the fire energy is coming through with like the heat that plants need to grow, right? So back to this. Sorry, it's a little bit confusing, but hopefully you're following along. So with this tree, right, this woodwives, the first time I saw this card, it was saying to me, because it looks very stunted, right? It looks very kind of dry, and there's kind of a couple of leaves on it, but then there's no leaves on these bits. So, and if you look at this tree on the background and compare it, it's like this tree is stunted or deprived of nutrients, right? It doesn't have everything it needs to grow. So interesting, mushrooms grow in the dark. That could be something for you as well. So there's a little fly buzzing around. So perhaps you, because it's coming through like this, right? Perhaps you, Capricorn, feel like you are not able to grow in a certain environment because it's not fertile, it's not nutritious, it's not giving you everything you need to grow. So it could be that there's something missing from the root system, which is ancestry, family, the place where you grow up, your history, your education, all these kinds of things. There was something perhaps that you were starved of. And I think you had this anyway in one of your readings, and it was like, but you continue to grow anyway, right? And then like reaching out for the warmth, reaching out for the light and the heat that you also need to grow, because this is kind of surrounded by these cards, right? So it could be that you had the light, which means maybe you had the love, you had the love, but you didn't have the resources, something like that, or vice versa. So plants grow towards the light. Plants lean towards what they need. So if you put a plant on your windowsill and you don't rotate it, you'll find all the leaves will very, very quickly be on one side of that plant, because the branches will bend to the light source. So, and this is what this is telling me. So it's like you need both, right? You need the love, you need the warmth, you need the light, and you need the resources or the finances or the education, right? So you need multiple things, and the water, right? So you seem to be coming in with the fertile soil. It seems like you've got what you need, right? There's a thing about like gathering resources over here, like the things that you need to if you are this plant, to grow fully, right, to flourish. Okay, so this is followed by radical acceptance, and the most important thing that children can have, because again this could go back to your childhood, one of the most important things that children can have, that is proven time and time again by when people do studies, is radical acceptance, unconditional love. If we're denied, if the love we're given is conditional, and normally it kind of is, a lot of the time, you know, parents can place expectations on us, or you know, they can project their own wants and insecurities and fears onto the children. So this idea of like you're not good enough unless you get good grades or whatever, it's whoa, there's more crows. There's about 9 crows now. See this thing about like increase in abundance and things growing and things multiplying seems to be coming through. So if you didn't have unconditional love, I want to say that you've found it, perhaps even through meditation. You know, perhaps like me, you also are able to tap into that, the unconditional love that comes from source energy. And when you tap into it and when you find it, it is radical, and it is liberating and healing and empowering. So perhaps you have this, perhaps you've radically accepted your situation for what it is. So it's got this energy of like taking off the blindfold, right? Really being in the here and now, because this middle world talks about, oh my God, look at the crows. This middle world talks about the here and now, right? The your current situation, this moment in time. Because didn't you have that in your notes as well? You're here now, right? Leave me where I am, you're here now. So you could be very comfortable where you are. You could actually be like, do you know what, my situation's good. I've got a supportive family, I've got nutritious soil, you know, I've got love, I've got light, I've got everything I need to grow here. You know, it's going to be different on everybody's situation. You could be thinking about how do I increase this? So you've got a very, just do things like education coming here. It's like maybe if you don't have it, you're thinking, how do I get this? If you do have it and you feel very, very blessed, it could be, how do I give this to others? How do we heal the world, right? They're showing me Superman in his crystal cave again. So Superman in his crystal cave is, it came in with a message of, just pausing, thinking, am I going to say what I'm going to say? So it came in with this message of, if you're in a position to create something that is going to show people a better way to live their lives, then use that. Right, okay, gosh, I'm getting big messages. I'm actually going to pause and just get everything that I need to say straight in my head, and then I'll kind of come back to you. Hold on. Okay. Oh, as I unpaused, I heard accept all, reject none. Accept all, reject none. Okay, so running with this idea of unconditional love, right? Radical acceptance being this very healing energy that allows people to grow to their full potential, right? It's an understanding the concept of, you know, some people who are low vibrational, some people who perhaps didn't have the same education as you, or didn't have the same resources as you, the same access to certain things that helped them to grow, or, you know, that didn't have families that loved them, that didn't come from fertile soil, orphans perhaps, and things like this. I know Awakening to Spirits reading for you had the orphan card. So it's like looking at society and being like, okay, so I cannot change right? The situation is what the situation is. I cannot change the past, right? These people in my community need this healing, right? They need the resources and they need this unconditional love, right? Radical acceptance. How can I make the world a better place? How can I make heaven on earth? So with the model village and the model train set, right, being this kind of like little idealized world, it's saying to me, if you're in a position to give, maybe you work in media or something, you work in film, you may be able to hear my son chatting, actually playing on VR in the background, or maybe you make VR, or you work in technology. It's like, okay, this is a big one, and this is where the Pisces energy is coming in. So it's a big concept, but hopefully it's going to apply. So Pisces get this message quite often. You get it as well. Because you get the Aeneas imagery of carrying his father on his back and leading his son by his hand. So I feel like if you are very good at, maybe you come from a really lovely family and you're really good at passing that love and warmth down to your own children. It's like wanting more people to experience that kind of support and love. And again, if you don't have this, it's like, how do I get this for myself personally? So you're either working on a personal level or a community level, or it could even be both, right? If I improve my situation, like God save the cheerleader, that's so funny. Save the cheerleader, save the world, right? Save the cheerleader, save the world. That's a quote from Heroes. It's like, we're all in this together, or something like this. So it's, what is this? So, sorry, it's a big message. I'm grappling with it. So, how do I explain this? Our perception of self is based on our memories and our past experiences and the way that we view them. If we view ourselves as a bad person because of perhaps decisions that we make, perhaps we're ashamed of our background, if we have a negative view of our past, it's very hard to predict a positive view of the future. So when people do things like therapy or when they experience that unconditional love and have that healing, and they do the shadow work and they go back into the past and start to look at their life through a different lens and start to put a more positive spin on it, their projection of the future actually becomes more positive. So if we go to theories like Maslow, Piaget, all these, because we've got education here, so all these kind of philosophers and thinkers who really created the education structures that we have, the three crows education policies that we have. A lot of these are based on their theories of building blocks. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about a child can't learn and can't actualize to their full potential if their basic needs aren't met. So they need love. Before they need love, the basic needs are security, shelter, food, right? A safe place to sleep. So basic survival. And then we go up a tier, and then we have things like love and friendship and belonging, and as we go up we get to, I can't remember exactly each tier, but at the top it's this is when you have self-actualization, and you have you become the best version of yourself, and you can grow, and you can go out into the world and kind of like do things with confidence because you have that secure base. And this is something that can go up and down at any time. You know, if, for example, now we're all worried about how we're going to pay our bills and our mortgages and energy bills. So that bottom rung, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basic survival stage is threatened. So, and when the basic survival stage is threatened, people can't have that self-actualization because the basic needs are more important. So people cannot grow and turn into the best versions of themselves if their stability is threatened. Piaget, there's another one as well that I've forgotten the name of. They talk about building blocks and how, again, as children grow, they start to take what they know. So it's like a child growing, you give them building blocks, and these building blocks are symbolic of, skills, knowledge, examples of you know, how to behave. And they put these, as they start to grow sort of in their teenage years, I think around the age of like 11, I think it is, they start to be able to, instead of just taking each block for what it is, they start to experiment more and innovate more with those blocks. So it's like, if I restructure this, what happens? So it's clever. It's looking at like the way the brain works and how the brain learns. It's really interesting. You've got education up here as well. So it's like, there's also something coming in. I'm sorry, it's a lot because there's a lot of stuff that's come through in different readings. It seems to be a bit of a combination for you. So there's a concept as well that says where people have amnesia, people have lost their memories, right? They don't remember the past. And what scientists and researchers have realized is that you can't predict the future if you don't remember the past. So if someone has complete amnesia, they can't remember anything, like, you know, like the guy from 50 First Dates, and you say, what's tomorrow going to be like? What are you going to do tomorrow? They have no idea because they don't have those building blocks. They don't have those resources. The knowledge isn't there of what tomorrow could look like, because we build our future based on our construct of the past, or we construct the future based on the building blocks of the past. So it's really, really important to give everybody, but particularly children with education, new building blocks, so that as they start to self-actualize and play around with concepts and imagine what their future is going to look like, they've got more resources to play with beyond whatever the small kind of container is that they've been raised in. So for example, if you had a child who's in the care system because they had a horrible start in life, you know, a really toxic family, you know, maybe they didn't even go to school, they just sat in the house all day, they didn't have access to games or movies, they just sat in the house playing with one toy, being ignored and neglected. I know it's really, really sad, right? But this is the reality for some children. And how could they, if that's all they know, right, if this is all they know, they have no concept, absolutely no concept that life can be like this, right? They can't even imagine it. They can't even imagine it because they don't know what a lily pad is. They don't know what it feels like to swim in clear water. They don't know what it's like to, I don't know, play in the sunshine. You know, they don't know, they don't have the building blocks of that. So how can they possibly construct that in their imagination? So it's really, really important for people who create media, people who create games, for people who create toys, to show children that there's more out there than what they know. Especially in times like we're going into recession in a lot of countries now, especially in times like this where, you know, the parents could get very, very busy and not be able to spend so much time sort of reading them bedtime stories and things like this. So even normal families, if the parents are stressed, you know, there's less nurturing going on with the children. So or not always, but probably, right? So to create movies, for example, like, I don't know, Avatar, right, that depict this fantasy world, or Harry Potter, you know, it sparks the seeds of imagination and creativity inside children, where they think, I could be a wizard, you know, I could fight dragons, I could go out and kind of like swim in the ocean. So it's like all these beautiful building blocks that, even though it's not first-hand experience, they're able to imagine what it would be like, right? So it's incredibly important to show people that this is possible. So it's like if you had a kid and all they watched was horror movies, they would think that life was a horror movie, right? That's what they would expect. If you show a kid, you know, and this is why we have like really kind of like cuddly woodly kids cartoons, it's like, because you want kids to be good, you want kids to expect good things. Okay, so and it's why as well, like cycles happen, which you've got making a choice here, which talks about repeating cycles. Are you going to pick the same door, or are you going to pick a different door, right? So it's we come to expect what we've seen. So if our parents were like, if our mum suffered from, you know, had a series of bad boyfriends and was never treated with respect, we don't expect respect, because that's how women are treated, right? So there's a lot to grapple with that. It's kind of a big message coming through just with that one card. But it's like, if you don't have this, how do you get it? Unconditional love, right? Not, I will love you if you pass I will love you if you get an A on that test. It's, I love you even if you fail. I love you even if you don't show up for the test, you know? But I want you to understand that that's perhaps not the best door for you to have gone through. And let's figure out if there's, you know, why did you avoid the test? So it's not, I don't love you anymore, you didn't attend the test. It's, why didn't you attend the test? And, you know, maybe the kid panicked, or maybe the kid, you know, didn't have the confidence that they'd pass it, so they avoided it. So if you have that conversation, you can be like, okay, well, do you know what? I can support you. I can sit with you. We can do that test together. Or, you know, let's you know, get some books on that and we'll figure it out together and build up your confidence. But if you don't have that conversation, if you just scream at the kid and you're like, you failed the test, you're worthless, then you're just reinforcing the negative opinion that that kid already has of themselves, right? That I'm worthless, I wouldn't have passed the test anyway. So you've got to be really careful, I think, as a parent with demonstrating that unconditional love, and really meaning it in a supportive way. So then Field of Dreams, right? And it's really like, really does have this energy of like sprinkling it down to these kids, right? These fairies. So yeah, like good eggs. I'm gonna read Woodwives because I was like, does Capricorn want like multiple wives here? Is this like some kind of like polygamy thing? What's happening? So I'm gonna read Woodwives. Adaptability, strong roots, growth. The Woodwives dance into your dreams as a reminder to be grounded no matter what life offers you. You need to know who you are and what you'll tolerate, what you've learned to date, and what boundaries to set so you feel good about yourself. Life is going to offer you something extraordinary now, and in order to learn and receive its blessing, you must remember that being grounded, right, which you absolutely are, like really good grounding here, gives you more freedom, not less. So this is the concept of, you do have a lot of stuff with children, I feel, and it could again be talking about your own childhood. So some parents are very liberal. My mum was very, very liberal, but it is important to set certain rules and certain boundaries. So, okay, you can do this, but this is where the line is. And to make that really clear, because it actually gives children a sense of security and reliability, and it allows them to know what the rules are, right? So it gives them a sense of confidence, because if they don't know what the rules are, if the boundaries are always changing, then it's like they could get shouted at for something one day and then get away with it in the next, and it gives them a sense of confusion and also rebellion, right? It's like, can I get away with it today? So if you're consistent with the rules, it actually creates a feeling of like a safety net. Obviously you don't want to make the rules too harsh. You want to give a little bit of leeway on that rein, right? You want to give them a little bit of maybe maybe that line isn't like a fixed line in the sand. Maybe it's a slight grey area, but it's like because you know that they're going to push the boundary. So like if you want them in at 9, you tell them to get in at 8, right? Because you know they'll probably run late. So even though you're telling them be in at 8, really it's being at 9. But if they're past 9, then it's like you've got to have a sit down and have a talk about that. And I think sitting down and talking about it is also a really positive thing to do, because you're showing them that you're interested. You're not just shouting at them and being like, this is the rule. It's like, why didn't you agree to that rule? What happened there? So yeah, I don't know. So being grounded gives you more freedom, not less. You have everything you need. So I really do feel like you've got a plan. I'm hearing you're a man with a plan, so I don't know, again, gender, but like you have a plan. You've got the seed of an idea. You've got the resources. So you're in this preparing energy is the way it's coming through. You have everything you need. And I don't know if you recognize that you have everything you need. This is the thing, because it was coming through with Arcadia by Lana Del Rey, which is, I need a miracle. Like, actually, the miracle is that you have everything in front of you already. You just have to see it. You have all it takes to do this right now. If you keep reminding yourself to be flexible, like a tree, right? Trees grow towards the light. They're pliable. You know, they grow strong and eventually, but as they're growing, they're flexible. You will be amazed at how things play out for you. The Woodwives are both wisdom keepers and students of the new world, as these forest spirits have an uncanny ability to adapt to changing circumstances and always find the perfect way to grow and expand. They represent what you already know how to do. Learn education. Maybe you're going back into education. Be in beginner's mind. Let go of your rigid notions of how things should be and be present to what is right now, unencumbered by your projections. Is there a storm brewing because things need to change? No worries. Nothing can uproot you now, and it will pass, and you will dance with nature and move with it all. Perhaps you've been given an opportunity to take a chance on something new, and you're not sure how far you can go without losing your footing. Have no fear, for when you remember your roots, your integrity, and your authentic self, you can stretch yourself beyond the invisible line you drew. Go for it. You'll be so glad you did. So if you start to feel ungrounded, I do feel like you're going into something new because you've got Fortune's Wheel, which is like a new phase, right? If you feel like you're going into something new and you have those moments of panic or fear, or like, oh, I don't know what to do. Similar to Sagittarius's reading, when they had this thing about just keep taking a few steps forward. It's like Sagittarius was going into that void. It's like they couldn't see, again, because they've never experienced it before. So you can't project what's going to happen if you've never had the experience of it. But it's like they had to just take a few steps, and it's like the whole family was around them, was the way it was coming through. So it's like, you know, it will come into focus. So you have a similar thing where it's like, you just, you know, you have this moment of feeling lost or directionless, but it's like, just keep walking, just keep taking those steps like Sagittarius, and it's like you will find the oasis, right? You will find the place that where you're meant to be. Just keep one step in front of the other, just keep going, right? Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. So yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I just really came back to myself then. So Field of Dreams, right? Am I only dreaming? So you really are dreaming about something beautiful, and it's like sharing it with others as well. But you are in the here and now, right? So it's like waking up from the dream, waking up from this vision of the future, and being like back in the present moment, right? Seeing the present situation very, very clearly. So there's something going on here about, and again, you've got Sagittarius here, Sagittarius, Aries, I'd say here. This tree, right? So I want to say with the branches symbolizing the future, it's like your future is being protected. Can you see there's like this fire rolling in here? But it's like this fire's rolling in, which I think is symbolized of this messenger of fire. So it could be an actual person, right? An actual person kind of, it's like burning your feet. I don't know. Who... I don't know if they seem like a threat, but they're actually linked to all this fire energy, right? They are the heat, they are the warmth, they are the bringer of light. Again, you could be tied to a Libra, because Libra have this thing about the morning star, right? The bringer of light. So it's like this is rolling in, and it could be something to do with your current situation. Where you're encountering this person. So it could be a child, again, strong Sagittarius, but it doesn't have to be. Also Aries, again, doesn't have to be. But it's like this, she is the bringer of the light. She is the bringer of the sun energy. She is the link to the love and the inspiration. So it could be, you know, unconditional love for your own child, or the love that a child shows to you. But yeah, it's linked to spontaneity, creation, kind of muse energy. And I want to say there's something where you're kind of stretching towards it, right? And it's like they're carrying this energy. So it's like that's what you need, right? You need that. It's one of the resources that you need to make this future happen. However, you've got here as well, like surrender to it, right? Surrender to the sweetness, Venus energy, pleasure, joy, make love to life. This is what this person knows how to do. They carry that energy, right? So pleasure, joy, make love to life. Yes, they're very spontaneous, but they do what makes them feel good. Sagittarius energy is very much like, it's very squirrel energy. It's very, this feels good, so I'm going to do it, right? This is what feels good in the moment. So they do live life very moment to moment, very much in the here and now, which seems to be something that you've been struggling with a little bit, how to live in the here and now, because you've been so occupied by the ancestry, the root system, the nurturing that base, that soil, and dreaming about this future. So this is a reminder perhaps to take life as it comes, to live in the moment. It's like you need to do that as well, is the way it's coming through. So I do feel like this is part of the resistance that I was picking up on in the last reading, this resistance to maybe even letting go of the wheel, right? Maybe letting go of the wheel. It's really like, you know, on a ship where they let go and it's like and letting life take you. Maybe you've been too controlling, because then you've got this unexpected. So the fortune's wheel, luck and right timing. Luck and right timing and unexpected. So I feel like you need to trust the universe a little bit here. Sorry, I'm banging up against the pulley on the drawers. So it's like, trust the universe. The universe has the bigger plan, right? The universe has the bigger perspective. So let the universe, if you've been too controlling, it's like, let go of the wheel for a minute and just let the universe roll everything into place, because there's some kind of serendipity here. Luck and right timing, the unexpected. And it does seem connected to this energy. This person, this energy is very good with living moment to moment, you know, rolling with the punches. You know, chaos is a ladder kind of energy. Like, they are very good at, because they're very, okay, so you have this thing about, with the Woodwives card, you have this thing about being adaptable, right? Adapting to changing situations, being creative in the moment. So this is the sort of person who is like, okay, this is the situation. What are the options here? And they could have a very out of the box kind of way of thinking, where it's like, let's look at this situation differently. It could be Aquarius energy as well. Aquarius is very much like, let's turn this on its head. Let's think out of the box. So it's like the sort of person, like they're driving. They're showing me like a driving game, right? So like they're driving and something like Mario Kart or something, like there's a blockage in that lane. So they're good reflexes, right? They just, okay, there's a blockage in that lane, I'll go in that lane. Okay, there's a blockage in that lane, I'll go in that lane. I've got terrible reflexes, but you know what I'm saying. So there seems to be, and I do have this feeling like this could be somebody that you meet who, again, as this bringer of light, it's like as the bringer of light into your darkness, right? Because you were in that void energy for a long time. So they're coming in with this kind of like firefly energy. It's like as they approach you like this, right? As they approach, again, it could be, I don't know if this is like you and somebody else, and then this is a third person, or I don't know how many people are in this reading. It could be groups, right? But it's like you sat in this void, not knowing what to do, feeling a bit of despair, feeling a bit like, I don't know what tomorrow brings, what do I do? Nihilistic kind of energy. And then it's like this character, like, I don't know if it could even be like, it's making me think of Cancer's reading. Cancer a while back had this reading of like this thing darting through the field of vision. And it's like they were chasing something. Like, again, like that idea of like chasing a squirrel, right? It's like they were chasing something and it broke their concentration. But at the same time, it kind of like, it's like spreading the paint across the canvas. It's like, it's that kind of like low-key chaos energy that breeds innovation. So yeah, there's something about this where it's like suddenly seeing, because can you see like the roundness of it? It's like suddenly seeing the future, suddenly seeing the potential, suddenly seeing what can be. See like the two people looking at it. So it really feels like suddenly knowing what you have to do, like because of this. It could be a really brief encounter with it. It could be a kid, right? A kid runs up to you, like, you know, like you're on the park, you know, maybe you're taking a walk through the park with your significant other, and you know this kid runs out in front of you chasing the ball, right? And it's like they're giggling with glee, and they're just like, you know, they kind of stumble over and like stop in front of you, and they're like, hi, like, what's your name? And then like they pick up the ball and they run away, and it's just that absolute joy for life. Is like, maybe it is, maybe it's like, maybe we should have a kid, you know, maybe that's what the future is for you, especially with all this kind of like fertile soil. You know, it's like this kid in the park kind of thing, you know. So And it's like the universe just throws this thing at you. So then I'm not quite sure what's going on. See, the beginning of the reading makes more sense, and then I'm kind of like, again, it's this energy of like being unsure about the future. So what seems to be happening here is, again, there could be some destruction left behind by this, right? It could be like a kid smashes a window, or, you know, it's because it's like picking up the pieces. Because it's like, this is this, right? So it's like you have the vision, you are moving towards this space, but you need to kind of like, because it's building as well, right? And I was talking about the building blocks, right? The building blocks of the, can you focus please? The building blocks of the future, right? Like collecting the resources from the past to build the future, something like that. So you're in this process of like building, like collecting the building blocks, and the building blocks seem to be something to do with like education. So it could even be like getting your certificates together, right? Like getting your degree, your high school diploma, your degree certificate, you know, all your kind of like different kind of A levels and things like that, like getting your evidence together to apply to some kind of establishment. Or it's like, again, look at this little like light being here as well. Like it's just, it feels like some kind of inspiration, like power as well, like harnessing your power or coming into your own, right? Coming into your full power because you've, again, it could be something to do with you, right? Like your energy moving from feeling like you have no power, feeling like you are kind of hope, like you're facing this void and you don't see a future and you feel really hopeless, to suddenly recognizing that you do actually have, you hold all the power. You hold all the power. You're actually the strongest person in the room. It's just like you needed some self-perception to be shattered so that you could rebuild yourself with a more powerful self-image. Something like that. And so what's going on up here? Oh, sorry, I just want to say as well, there's something about this, you see like all the orbs, it's like there is something to do with, again, this concept of like a shared future, like a shared dream, a shared vision of the future. It does seem to be connected to place. So again, it could be you're transforming, like you're terraforming the place that you live in, right? Maybe you've moved into a new house and there's no, you know, it's just like a sandy rubble garden, right? But it's like you have the vision of what you want it to be. And then it's like adding the water, right? Adding the love, adding the emotions. It's like, or like searching for the oasis, something like that, searching for the oasis. So yes, it was a dream. Yes, it was a vision. Yes, it was this idea of finding heaven on earth. But again, it's coming through that, it's like a moment of doubt, and fear or something of, okay, I've took a few steps towards it, but I haven't found this place yet. It's like I was expecting this and I got this, something like that. So I don't know if there's something about retracing your steps, like going back a few steps or hesitating, but I do want to say keep going with this. And remember that you have those firm foundations, right? You have the fertile soil. You have the power to bring in this new future. And then you end here with this making a choice. So this card talks to me about, if you choose what you've always chose, you'll get what you've always got. So if you always choose, I don't know, what have you been choosing, and has it brought you to the future that you want? Or do you have to open a different door that may feel very unknown? Because having those new and unexpected experiences, right? Allowing for the unknown, allowing for the unexpected, trusting the universe to bring you the resources you need actually allows you to grow, because in those moments of feeling ungrounded, unsure, we learn to be creative, and we learn new skills, right? We learn how to survive in different environments. So it is your choice. Do you stay in place and choose what you've always chosen, but perhaps this is not going to allow you to grow? Or do you need that growth? And do you need to take a few steps into the unknown? And I want to encourage you as well, Capricorn, as a very grounded, stable sign that likes that feeling of security. And you can be very, very confident as well. You can be very confident at taking risks, because a lot of Capricorns do come from a very, very stable, nutritious family life, right? And normally when you have a very, very stable base, right, if you go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, if all your basic needs are cared for and you don't have to worry about that, you can be more confident with having growth and self-actualization, because you've got that really good framework to fall back on. I could be talking about, again, education framework, key stage 1, key stage 2, that kind of thing. But if you feel like your security is threatened, you're going to feel less confident and more vulnerable in taking risks. So where are you at? Do you need to reinforce your foundations? Do you need to take a few risks to have some growth? Where are you on that pyramid at this time? But again, chaos is a ladder. A lot of opportunities come when we take a few steps into the unknown. And again, look back at history. So we're going into a recession, right? Your parents, your grandparents probably lived through 1 or 2 recessions. They're still here. They managed to find the food from somewhere. So people survive. Humans are very, very adaptable. So don't worry, the abundant universe will provide. And right in the center of your reading, look at what you have. Radical acceptance, beloved, fortune's wheel, luck and right timing, and the unexpected. So it's trust it, right? Trust those moments where the wheel turns and your stability feels threatened, because this card's telling us that you've actually got very, very secure foundations and very, very secure roots. So I hope this reading was helpful to you, Cappies. It was really interesting to me. Hopefully I'm going to sleep a bit more peacefully now, because it's funny, there's an advert playing, it's called Kids Bop, Super Bop. It's for kids singing songs. So again, it could be something to do with the education of your own children. Is it a nutritious education? Is it providing everything that they need to grow? I was actually having a conversation like this with a Cappy, I hope they don't mind me saying, where we're talking about our kids and school holidays, and how a lot of schools don't let you take kids out of school to go on holiday, where actually the benefit of taking your children to a foreign country, taking them to a new environment, because of everything I've been talking about in this reading, right? Because it's new, and when we have new experiences, it pushes into that growth mindset that, I'm being given new tools, I'm being given new knowledge, I'm being given new building blocks. It's actually hugely beneficial. So say you took your kids to I don't know, Italy or Egypt or I don't know, Brazil, right? It's if you took your kids to a different country for a week, they're probably going to actually have a moment of exceptional growth compared to sitting in that very, very samey classroom for a week. So actually, it's not beneficial to keep children in school if they had a huge opportunity for a new experience. I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to actually just let this advert play through, and then we'll randomize the song for you. Hold on. No, wait, I'm just waiting for these adverts to go. The next advert is for T levels, which is training levels, a bit like apprenticeships, like A levels, but they're actually more hands-on. So it's just funny that you've got an advert about education, teenagers and stuff. Okay, that's brought something up. So T levels and apprenticeships, they're really good options, and I do recommend, if that's something that appeals to someone, that they should definitely do it. I studied, right, so people from lower income backgrounds tend to take on apprenticeships and you know, skill-based courses because you're guaranteed money and you're guaranteed a job at the end of it. I had the opportunity to go to uni, and I chose to study humanities with specialisms in English literature and humanities, and classics. So the reason why, particularly classics and Shakespeare, why I chose to study these over something that would have given me a more job-based, like more of a guarantee of a job, was because the people who don't have to worry about money, the people who don't have to worry about the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, are the ones that tend to study courses like humanities or philosophy, or, you know, these luxury degrees, which are much more about it's less of a practical skill-based education and more of a conceptual education, right? It's more to do with the way you think about the world. And I chose to do this because people like me don't do that. So I wanted to have the education that, I'm sorry to throw in rich white men, right? The rich white men me, but you know, like the Bullingdon Club and, you know, the people who are running the country, like what did they study, right? The education that wasn't available to me. I didn't have the option to learn Latin in my high school, right? I didn't have the option to learn about classical studies. That wasn't a course that was offered in my high school. That was a course that was offered in the posh people's schools. So I was like, why should I not have the education that they have? And what are they learning that I'm not learning? So that is why I chose something that, yes, it wasn't, I don't have a job that directly relates to my degree, right? I could have done something more practical, but I did something unusual, and I did something rebellious that was not meant for me, right? And I'm really glad that I did, because I look at people like politicians, and with having the same education that they did, I can see all those tricks that they do. So I understand how the voting system in the, you know, the polis of Greece and ancient Athens worked. I understand that democracy in the classical world was a blip. It was a couple of hundred years. You know, most of the time in the classical world, it was a king or a tribe leader or something like that. It was more similar to a kingship than it was to a democracy. So at least in Greece. And you know, people say Greece was really democratic. Like, no, like Rome also had the Republic, you know. And so I understand how they, for example, they had first past the post, which meant that only and because the voting was held in the metropolis, the voting was held in the city, it meant that people who were farm workers, right, who didn't have the luxury of just taking the day off to go and vote, the farm workers, like, to not do the farming that day and to travel all the way into the city and all the way into back just to cast the vote, you know, it meant that, yes, they were granted an equal vote, but they were a lot less likely to vote than the people who were being voted for, right? The rich white men in the city. Women weren't allowed to vote. And so they did things as well, like they kept on shuffling around the voting groups. So sometimes it was vote by area, but then they changed it so it was like only so many people, like so many, like they put the groups like so many people in city areas, so many people in the outlying areas, to make it more balanced. But even that had its like, it was like what they do now. If you watch like what the Conservative Party did when they got into power, they started moving the borders of the voting areas to make it more favourable for them to win. So it's like, okay, so this area always, you know, this area's 50% Labour, 50% Conservative, or like 60% Labour, 60% Conservative. But if we take this little chunk here and add it to this Conservative area, so that now it's 20% Labour and 80% Conservative in that area, and we take a little bit of this Conservative area and put it in here, you know, we're going to actually, by moving the borders of the voting territories, we're actually getting it so that it's a way of messing with the voting system without actually getting called out for it, basically. So when you understand what they used to do in the ancient times, you can see them doing it now in the modern times, and they get away with it because people don't know about it. Yeah, and just the way that, you know, orators, you know, like the Ciceros or the Pericleses of the ancient world would do these speeches, and they were speeches designed to persuade. And when you understand how to deconstruct the argument in a speech, you can see how those arguments are playing out. And demagogues and oligarchs, you know, and fear-mongering and all the different ways that people have of controlling a population and controlling the voting system. You know, you can see it because you know all the tricks and tips. And this is why they don't teach classics in every high school, because they don't want people to know what they're up to, right? And this is why liberal Democrats who people who vote liberal Democrats tend to be the most educated people in the society, and they know what, you know, they know what the tricks are. So I don't know, like, just something to think about, guys. You know, I don't know why that's come through, but it has. Just gonna get back to randomizing your song. Okay, so the song that is playing now after the adverts is Hello World by Alan Walker and Taurine. So that could be something for you. It could not. I'm going to screenshot it so I remember to make a note in the description box below. If you go and check out that description box, all your songs will be down there, and I'm going to randomize a few extra when I upload the reading. So I'm going to randomize you a song. Okay. I don't know what my daughter's doing, but she's going, ow. It's Britney, bitch. Give Me More by Britney Spears. I don't know how it fits in, but maybe it's this person. I see you and I just want to dance with you. Every time they turn the lights down, I just want to go that extra mile for you. You've got my display of affection. It feels like no one else in the room but you. We can get down like there's no one around. We keep on rocking. We keep on rocking. Cameras are flashing while we're dirty dancing. They keep on watching. Feels like the crowd is saying, give me more. The centre of attention, even when they're up against the wall. You got me in a crazy position. If you're on a mission, you got my permission. We can get down like there's no one around. So I don't know what you're up to, Cappies. I feel like I've gone back to the start of the reading where James Bond was trying to seduce somebody. Okay, right, fine. And then give me more, give me more. Advice, please. Coyote spirit. Who had the coyote? Was it Sagittarius yesterday? It's like the coyote was waiting for Sagittarius to throw the ball. Like, are we gonna stick or twist, right? Stick or twist. The choice is yours. Hit or miss. Is that Confide in Me? What's mine is yours. Stick or twist. The choice is yours. Hit. We all get hurt by love, and we all have a cross to bear. But in the name of understanding now, a problem should be shared. Confide in Me, yeah. So we've gone back to the beginning of the reading. Which way? Yeah, I thought it was in reverse. You've got Coyote Spirit in reverse. As your advice. Where's my book? Helpful if I can find the book. There it is. So number 16. 16 could be a significant number for you. Trust in divine detours. Trust in divine detours, right? Luck and right timing, the unexpected. Sometimes a goal is so enticing and alluring that you lose your footing in the pursuit. Okay, just be really careful, stay grounded, right? So if you need to take a step back, do some deep breathing, maybe just have a quick time out, right? If things are getting a bit crazy, just be like, I'm just gonna have a quick bathroom break and just sit there 5 minutes, you know, deep breathing, meditating, splash some water on your face, get grounded again, go back in. Sometimes a goal is so enticing and alluring that you lose your footing in the pursuit. You begin to fixate on capturing this prize, whether it be an opportunity you have always wanted, a relationship with that elusive someone, or the promise of that big break. Coyote Spirit warns you that this trickster energy seducing you now will yield nothing but disappointment and unnecessary heartache if you let yourself be fooled. Again, remember to think about the mirage up here. Great Spirit wants the best for you, so when your plans go topsy-turvy, know that Coyote Spirit is present to protect and bless you. Listen to her gentle warning, not to take the world too seriously or become too attached to the form and timing of your desire. Something better is beckoning. If you learn your lesson and lighten your heart, it will not be long before you see that crooked through the path may have been. What? It will not be long before you see that crooked through the path may have been. What? You were on the right one all along. I'm just going to show you that just in case I'm reading it weird, but I think it's actually written weird. Right? Something better is beckoning. If you learn the lessons and lighten your heart, it will not be long before you see that crooked. Before you see that crooked though the path may have been, you were on the right one all along. Yeah, that's what I said. It's like keep taking a few more steps forward, because it's like if you find yourself doubting, just keep on swimming, right? Keep on going. Trust the divine detours. The universe knows the best way to carry out. It's like, it's not saying that you can't have what you're wishing for. It's like you may be too controlling of the situation, or you may be becoming too fixated and it's making you wobble. So it's like, let go of the wheel, you know, like I saw the ship's wheel turning, because it may be, right, you may be trying to steer the ship in a direction that's like, you know, like how I have Mario Kart, it's like you could be trying to steer that ship in a direction where it's like, it's just going to run into rocks, and you just can't see the rocks, but the universe can see the rocks. So the universe is like, if you let go of the wheel and it redirects, they could be taking you on, I don't know, like there could be like a river that cuts through that big landmass that you were trying to get through, and it's like, oh, there you go, we're here. Like the universe, it's like the universe is trying to make it easier for you, and you're fighting against it, like fighting the tide. So just go with the flow. It's the way it's coming through. All right, I do hope that is helpful to you. It's funny because it does feel like it ties in with Sagittarius's reading, with this thing about Libra and Sagittarius, and Scorpio. Actually, all these readings feel like they're tying in together with this idea of like redirecting people, and it's like it doesn't make sense, right? It makes sense to go towards the thing that you want to go towards, but the universe is like sending you, almost like turning a magnet, you know, that repels. It's like the universe is like sending people off on different missions, on different quests, and it's like, well, but kind of thing. It's like, but I want to, I don't know. I guess trust the universe. The universe knows what it's doing. Do take care of yourselves, and I will see you again soon. Bye, friends.